Okay. Hello, good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining for today's career talk, right? So I hope if you are here, maybe you can say hi in the chat. I hope you already had a nice dinner and sitting comfortably for today's talk. Okay. Okay. So let me see. Okay, I see a lot of hello here. Hello, hello. Good evening. I know for those who are from Malaysia, tomorrow is a public holiday, right? So I guess you are pretty relaxed tonight. Oh, hello, hello everyone. All right, so without further ado, I know you are not here to hear me talking. You're here for Darren. So, but before that, of course, just allow me to briefly introduce Darren to you. I know some of you probably know about Darren, and but just give me a minute to introduce him. So Darren is a co-founder and director of TalentLabs, and he is at the forefront of driving academic and professional excellence, overseeing from content development to teaching operation. So he played a very important role in shaping next generation of tech talents. And perhaps you don't know Darren was a technical solution architect and product lead at Google, focusing on machine learning and data solution for digital marketing. And prior to his time at Google, he helped develop trading system for Morgan Stanley and Credit Suisse. And so his journey stands a very remarkable narrative of exploration, expertise, and also a dedication to driving positive change through technology and education. So tonight, Darren will give us a brief overview of Hong Kong IT industry and in-demand IT skill. And of course, you're welcome to ask questions in the chat. And because it's a very interactive session, it's not a lecture. So I hope you feel free to drop any questions and even have a discussion with us. So please join me in extending a warm virtual welcome to Darren. And so let's welcome Darren and say hello to Darren in the chat.
Okay,
Okay, so
thank you,
Darren,
Peggy.
over to you.
Thank you, Peggy, for introducing me. And yeah, I think that's flattering. But yeah, today, basically, I'm here trying to give a sharing on the overview of IT, Hong Kong IT industry. So I know that a lot of you are actually from Hong Kong and some of you are from Malaysia, but I think the content today will also apply to Malaysia as well, because like for most of the Asian countries, the IT industry condition, the IT industry status are pretty similar. So yeah, so even if you're from Malaysia, feel free to stay. That's not a problem. So today, for today's agenda, I think Peggy introduced me already, so I don't need to introduce myself again. But then today's agenda, so we'll have three things to talk about. So the first one is I'm going to talk about the different roles in technology firms or in the technology industry. I know that a lot of you are like participating in TalentLabs program, participating in the Google Career Certificate program, learning about different technology skills already. But you might not have a complete or full understanding on what are the different roles in the digital career or in the technology field. So I'm going to give an overview of that. And then I'm going to talk about like, the Hong Kong IT industry and also what is the most in-demand IT skills in Hong Kong. So although I say that these are Hong Kong, but actually it is also applied to countries like Malaysia, Singapore, or IT other region as well. Yeah. Okay. So a lot of the people, when they're talking about technology, the first thing that they will be thinking about is like this one, is coding. People will start to think about, okay, if you're working in IT industry, then that means that you must be a hacker. Every day you go to the office, turn on the computer, and then the computer is in black and white, and then you keep typing on the keyboard, right? Like all those like TV shows or movies that you saw in cinema. The hackers sitting in front of the computer, keep typing, blah 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 blah. That kind of IT industry, right? But in reality, that's not the case. In reality, there are a lot of different roles in the technology field in the industry. Of course, today I won't be able to cover all of them, but then I want to cover the three most important or the three most commonly seen role in Hong Kong, in Malaysia, basically in Asia area. So the first one is the business type of role. For sure, technology companies are also is also a business. So that's why they will need people to run the business. And also, we will need engineers. So the type that you are so most familiar with, those people who do coding, who do data analysis, who do complicated software development. And then the third type is what we call designer, although it's not traditionally classified as IT position, but it's very closely related to technology. So I also want to briefly cover the role of designers. So under each of the role, there are different titles. Okay, sometimes we call them like users, project manager, analyst. We call them software engineer, architect, or whatsoever. But then I will just go over high level on each of the category. So if you have a particular position that you are not so sure about, you want to know more about that, feel free to ping it in the chat. I can explain it in a more detailed way in the Q&A section. So let's look into the business roles first. In the business role, they are the people who manage the roadmap, who manage what's happening with the business. So they might not know technical stuff, they might not know coding, maybe they don't know how a software works, but then they know how the business works. They know how a company is going to make money. So that's why their position is really to look into the product timeline, the product management, project management, and also the if you are developing a software, then they will look into what are the features that we should be implementing in the software. So they are from a business perspective, from a user perspective, they will help deciding what are the software that we are going to build. And also they will be looking into if we have this particular software, how do we do the marketing? How do we push the software to the market? How do we sell this product to our customers so that they will pay us for the software? So this is the role of the business people. And interestingly, there are no coding background is needed, although it is in the tech industry. I know that a lot of people they are thinking, oh, if I'm going to join the tech world, if I'm going to join a technology company, does that mean I need to learn some coding? Does that mean I need to come from an engineering background? That's not the case because a lot of the people I have worked with, they don't know coding at all, but then they are working in a business capacity. Maybe they are project manager, maybe they are working on the marketing side, they are working on the whatever business area. So they don't need coding background. And they have no specific academic background really. They could be coming from business, they could be coming from science, some of them coming from engineering. I think what is more important is your project management skills and also your experiences are more important. So you need to accumulate your business experience. You can like right after graduation, probably you don't have enough experience as a project manager. You'll probably start with a business associate or project associate, accumulating your experiences, and later on you will be able to become a business manager, product manager, that kind of position. So usually their career path, they will start from something like associate, assistant, basically helping out things. And then slowly they can proceed into like product manager, project manager, and then like become executive, department heads. Usually that would be their career path. Okay, sounds exciting. These are quite important role because how the company make money is all rely on them. Okay, let's say if you are engineer, you develop a very interesting app, you develop a very popular app, you need some business people to help you in figuring out how your app is going to make money. thinking about like a very good example is Google. At the very beginning, Google is really just a search engine. They have no idea how they're going to make money. And then they need someone who are familiar with business, or they need someone who have a business mind, business sense, to come up with the idea that, oh, we can do digital marketing, we can do advertisement on Google search engine to make money. And that's why Google is so big of a company now. So it's very important for a company to have someone wearing the business hat. The second type of roles that we want to look into is really the technical roles, or some people would say that they are engineers, they are software developers, but they are pretty much similar. I will group them as the technical roles. And these people are the ones who are responsible to develop the actual software, to develop the actual product. It could be hardware, actually. Some companies are hardware companies, so maybe they are developing hardware. But then they are the engineer, they are the technical mind to help to build the product. Okay, so the business people figure out what they're going to build and then how to sell the product. And these technical people are going to build the product. So they will be looking into the technology, they will do a lot of testing. They also always be learning the latest technology so that you can bring the latest technology into the product. And then in terms of requirement, of course, they would be like tech professionals. You need to learn about some coding skills and stuff. But the interesting is, it's not necessary to have a relevant university degrees. In the old days, everyone need to like, oh, you need to go to computer science and then you will be able to become a software engineer. But nowadays, that's no longer the case. There are a lot of courses. Some of you are taking those courses as well. Like TalentLabs offer those courses. Also, Google Career Certificate got like those data analyst program, cybersecurity program. So these are all preparing you to become a technical person. And once you completed those certificates, you will be able to apply for the entry-level job and then slowly progressing in your career as a technical person. So usually they will start from entry-level engineers, slowly becoming a senior and then becoming an architect. And then in the future, they will be progressing into a CTO as well. So that is how it works as a technical position. And the third type, I think less people are talking about designers, but in a tech company, I would say almost all tech companies, they would need to have some sort of designers. It could be on the user interface design, it could be the user experience design, or it could be just like the company brand, the logos, the look and feel, the style design as well. So the role for these designers is really to convert the concept from the business team into some sort of visualization. Let's say if the business team is thinking about, oh, I'm going to build a email application, then the designer taking all those inputs from the business, talking about, oh, what are the features that we are going to build, then they are going to draw something. They are going to draw the diagrams. They are going to do whatever they needed to visualize the idea. And then once you have all those visualized, then they can pass all these design to the engineers so that the engineers can build the product, build the software based on the design. So the designers are basically the one who are converting the idea into something more tangible. Okay. And then the tangible idea, the design, the sketches will then be passed to the engineer to build it as a real working product. Okay. So in this area, IT qualification is not required, but then of course you probably want to learn about like this UX UI design stuff. I know that a lot of universities they are not covering like user experience or user interface design. So it might be it would be helpful for you to take some online courses. It could be from YouTube, it could be some professional courses, or maybe I know that the Google Career Certificate they also got the UX design track as well. So you can gain your skills over there and then start your career as a UX or UI designer. But also remember that if you're going to be a designer, communication skills is super, super important because when you are working on this project, you are basically sitting in between of the engineers and the product manager and the business side. So you take input from the business and then do some conversion, do some translation, and then pass it to the engineers. So you're sitting in between. So you are kind of the bridge between engineers and the business side. So you need to have really good communication skills. And usually these people, they later on, they are going to progress into project management or product manager as well. And of course, there are a lot of different roles, including like sales, consultants, marketers, growth hackers, data analysts, data scientists. All these are super exciting roles. But then today we don't have time to cover all of them. So I will leave this one as a homework for you. If you're interested, feel free to go online to look for information. Or if there is a particular role that you are very, very interested in, just type it in the chat, and then maybe I can address them in the Q&A section. Now, let's jump on to the second part, talking about the Hong Kong IT industry. So when people are talking about the Hong Kong IT industry, it's quite often that they are all bad news, right? We heard about this one, very interesting, hiring for software engineers at an hourly rate of 32.5 Hong Kong dollars. And then you also hear about this one. So the Education Bureau, they think that in a school, the IT equipment that they should be buying is like the cassette tape and the VCR machine, 3.5-inch floppy, that kind of machine. This is actually in 2020, this news. So quite interesting, right? That's why people start saying that, oh, in Hong Kong, there are no IT industry. Hong Kong are like so very old school, low tech. And then whenever companies are firing people, like as this one is talking about HSBC, for those who don't know Chinese, HSBC is firing some people, and then they are always firing the IT department first. So it seems like in Hong Kong, everything about the IT industry is bad. Seems there are no good news about IT industry. But what I want to say is actually not really the case. So of course, the newspaper, they always want to share about the bad news, that for the purpose of hit rate, for the click rate, because these news are the one that you will be clicking into it. If I'm going to share on YouTube, I'm going to share on Facebook saying that, oh, IT industry is working well, there are a lot of opportunities, then no one would be really clicking into the newspaper. But then if you're saying that IT people are only making 32.5 per hour, or HSBC are firing 120 IT people again. So these are the eye-catching titles, and that's why these news media, they always want to talk about how worse the IT industry is in Hong Kong. But that's not the case. In fact, Hong Kong, there are a lot of IT practitioner, IT positions. Although it's not the type of positions that you will be thinking about. It's not like in Silicon Valley, you are working for Google, building like quantum computers, not that kind of like deep technology, but still there are a lot of opportunities for IT professionals. So in general, in Hong Kong or even Malaysia, I would say there are basically 5 main types of companies who are looking for IT talents. The first one, and also the most common one, is what we call software vendors. I know that some people will try to differentiate them into like vendors, consultancy, and system integrators. But for today's purpose, I will just group them all as software vendors. So what they are going to do is like they help people in implementing software. Let's say my company is going to build an app, but I don't have an IT team. Then I will outsource this project to these software vendors so that they can help me in building that. I don't have to build an in-house IT team at all. So this is the most common type of IT companies in Hong Kong. We always see them. So that's the first type. And the second type of IT company is what we call the big tech. So although we know that like Google in Hong Kong, they are not hiring engineers, they are not building quantum computers in Hong Kong, but doesn't mean that these companies do not have an office in Hong Kong. In fact, all these companies on the list, like including Baidu, Salesforce, Microsoft, Apple, Google, Facebook, Adobe, Tesla, Amazon, all of these companies, they do have an office in Hong Kong. But then that is more like a sales office. So they are looking for technical people. They are looking for tech people who will be able to do business. So that is kind of the business type of technology people. So they are looking for people who are more on the business side instead of the engineering side. So the third type is another most common type in Hong Kong is the finance and fintech. A lot of people who are working on IT or so-called IT or technology, they're actually working in finance company or they're working in a fintech company. So that is the third type. They do hire a lot of people. And also among all this, if we are not talking about big tech, if we are I think in terms of salary, big tech got a big higher salary, but then the second one is really on the fintech and finance industry. So if you are saying that, okay, I want to do IT, and at the same time I want to make good money, might be finance would be a good direction to go for. Okay. The fourth type of company who are looking for IT or technology talent would be startup companies. In Hong Kong, although we don't really have a lot of like popular or famous or well-known startup companies, but then we do have quite a lot of startups in Hong Kong. Some of them like you might heard of them like let's say the SenseTime. SenseTime is an AI company. They are huge. They do have an office in Hong Kong. Also, like Lala Move, GoGo Van, they have an office in Hong Kong. They have development team in Hong Kong. Also, the traveling company, the Klook, Klook, they have an office in Hong Kong. So there are still quite a few of the successful startup companies in Hong Kong that you can work for. Some of them pay better, some of them pay less, but in general, of course, their salary is not as good as finance or big tech. But still, some of them can offer good money. And the last type of company is what I would say like retail and conglomerate. What that means is, maybe I will just give some example. Let's say Maxims. Maxims is a giant group. They have a lot of line of business. It's not only about food and beverages. They also have like e-commerce. They also have like some of them have shopping mall, even have shopping mall. Some of them have like business line that you don't know. Maybe they have supermarket, they have all sorts of stuff. And that's why they will need to hire a lot of IT people. And also speaking of shopping mall, they have like e-commerce they have the loyalty program. Restaurants, they have loyalty programs. And some groups they do have their specific apps for the shopping mall, etc. Blah blah blah. So that's why they are hiring a lot of technology talent as well, just to help them in building all these. And also like they have their online store. For their online store, of course, they need technology talent to help managing all those online stuff as well. So retail and conglomerate, they are a lot of people they don't know, but in fact, they do hire a lot of technology talents. But looking into these five types, it sounds like it's a bit messy, right? It sounds like they are not related to each other at all. But then today I want to give a different perspective to you, a different perspective to understand the environment or the ecosystem of the IT industry in Hong Kong. So usually, I would say a better way to understand IT industry is a three category or three steps process. So usually, it started with a technology user, I would say. No matter if it is a bank, no matter if it is a startup or whether it is a conglomerate, any companies, as long as you need to use technology, as long as you have a website maybe or have a mobile app, you are considered as the technology users. And when these technology users, when they need to build something, let's say build an app, they will always look for people to help. Maybe they are going to vendor. Maybe they are hiring an internal IT team. Maybe they are relying on like some outsourcing team in mainland China, in Malaysia, in Singapore, in India, whatever. So usually when they need to build something, they will look into the available technology. So the first type of people that they will be reaching out to is the software vendor, the consultancy company, or system integration companies. So these companies are the implementer. So they help people in implementing. Some are more hands-on, some are just providing direction. Let's say consultancy, maybe they just tell you that which type of technology you will be using. But then for system integrator, they will be more hands-on. They help you in doing coding. And for software vendors, they will just directly help you in implementing the software. So no matter which one you are reaching out to, they are basically providing advice. They're providing help to your company, advising you what type of technologies that you will be using. And then the next question is, this is quite interesting. They advise you to use what kind of technology, but it is impossible for them to know everything about in the world. There's just so many technologies. So usually these companies, they will be partnering with what we call the technology vendor or the supplier. They are the ultimate big boss in the industry. They basically build everything. Thinking about if I'm going to build an app, it would be I would be hosting them on Amazon. I would be hosting them on Google Cloud, or Microsoft Azure Cloud. So they are the ultimate big boss. So when these vendors, they need to provide consultancies, they need to provide advices to the technology users. They always consult, or they always look into this big tech. They always look into the technology of these suppliers, because in fact, no one is inventing anything apart from these big tech companies. No matter what you're doing, you are relying the technologies from the big tech. Even like if now a lot of people are talking about they are doing AI, they are doing generative AI. In fact, the generative AI technology is actually coming out from Google. Google come up with the idea, and then OpenAI took that idea and really developed that engine. So no matter what type of applications you are building, they always need to go back to these like big tech companies. So this would be a better way to understand the ecosystem of technology in Hong Kong. It's always like big tech or big technology companies, they invent some technology. And then these software vendors, they're kind of the user, I mean like the evangelists. They are the marketer, they're the promoter, okay, of this big tech company. Okay, they help this big tech company to bring the technology to the market. And then the technology users are the actual one who use these technologies to build a business, to build a mobile app, to build an application. So in this way, it would be a lot easier for you to understand the ecosystem and also explain why the software vendors, why the consultancy companies are like so huge in Hong Kong. Also explain why there are so many technology companies. I mean, there are so many software vendors in Hong Kong because they play a very important role in the ecosystem. They are the bridge between the technology users and the suppliers. They stand in the middle, make sure that they connect. So that is what we call the ecosystem in Hong Kong. And speaking of that, different companies, different players, they would have a different demand in skill set. They will have a different demand on the positions that they're hiring. Let's say for technology vendors, I mean like Google, Adobe, or Microsoft, Amazon, these companies, they are not building their technology here. They are not building like cloud, they are not building quantum computers, they are not building AI in Hong Kong. Instead, what they are doing here is just to sell these products, sell these technologies, bring these technologies into the market. So that's why if you're looking into their job board, you will find that in Hong Kong, they are mostly hiring for like sales, business development, technology consultants, marketers, these type of roles. Because in Hong Kong, they are not building the technology. They are not building something amazing technology. They are not building the next generation AI here. Instead, they are just bringing this latest technology to the market. So that's why they don't need a lot of engineers. Instead, they need those business people more. But then when we go into the software vendors, which is the middle part of the ecosystem, they will need more technology people. These people are the hands-on one. They take requirements from the technology users and then help them in building project. So apart from sales and BD, business development people, they would also need to hire project managers. They will also need to hire actual engineers, UI, UX designers. So basically, all those people are the ones who are building stuff. Okay, they are not business people only. They are people who build stuff, who are hands-on. And then for technology users, the ultimate users of the technologies, they will need project manager, they will need product manager to communicate with these software vendors. Some of them might have an in-house IT team. Then they will be hiring engineers. They will be hiring data scientists, data analysts, that kind of roles as well. So this is like the ecosystem. So let's say if you are in Hong Kong, actually, in fact, in Singapore or in Malaysia as well, if you want to get into the big tech, then probably your direction should be looking into becoming a consultant or becoming a sales or business development person instead of like becoming engineers, because they are not going to hire a lot of engineers in Hong Kong or in Malaysia. But if you are saying that, okay, I really, really want to become someone who can code, who build a mobile app, who do coding every day, then might be you should consider joining some of the good consultancy companies. So here, when I'm talking about consultancy companies or software vendors, it doesn't need to be a small one. It could be a really big one. For example, like PwC, KPMG, Accenture. These companies are really big. Okay, they offer good salary, good benefits, but then they are still under the group of like system integrator and consultancies. So if you want to become technical, if you want to do coding every day, maybe you want to consider consultancies. Okay, so this is a overview of what are the different positions available in the market. And before you are thinking about your career, it's always good to have an overview on the industry. So the last part that I want to share is really about the most in-demand skills. I'm not going to talk about, you should be learning Java, you should be learning JavaScript, Python, that kind of thing, because we know that like different companies have a different requirements. There are no absolute good or bad or absolutely popular or unpopular technology in the industry. So I would say learning any technology will be good, but what I want to focus will be on the type of skills. So let's look into the business role first. If you're looking into business role, what is more important is what I would say the technical background or understanding. What does that mean? That means that you don't need to be technical. You don't need to be someone who can code, but then you need to be able to understand technology terms so that when you're talking to the clients, you can understand their jargons. You understand how a technology system works. So that is still important. Although you don't need to code, but then understanding technology, the skills of understanding technology is very important. And what I would say is that in the industry, this is the most in-demand skills. It's the most in-demand skills in no matter big tech or in consultancy companies or in-house technology team. Every company is trying to find people who are able to understand technology, but also able to understand business. So that is super, super important. So if you have these skills already, then yeah, they are lucky. Probably you can find a really good career. And also, of course, like project management experience is important. And other thing that I want to highlight is on the industry know-how. IT is becoming more and more into a industry-specific things. That means if you're working as a technologist, working as a software engineer in a bank, it's very hard for you to switch to another industry. You can still jumping between banks, but if you want to switch to, let's say, healthcare, then it is a totally different story. We can see that there are more and more demand of people to know the industry. So that's why I would suggest if you are joining an industry, try to pick an industry that you are interested into. If you're interested in finance, then yeah, focus on that. If you're interested in healthcare, focus on healthcare. If you're interested in education, focus on that because you need to accumulate the industry know-how. Although you are just an IT person, although you are working in the back office, you are building a mobile app, but still the industry know-how is super important. So try to accumulate the knowledge for a particular industry. That would be a lot easier for you when you are looking for a job. And on the technical side, I know that a lot of people will say, oh, is it building an app is better or is it building a website is better? What I can tell is for sure, the web development is a lot more in demand. That is what I'm seeing in the market. I seldom see companies are hiring for app developers in Hong Kong. I'm not sure about Malaysia. This one is quite Hong Kong specific. If you are planning to work in Hong Kong, then web development is, I can tell, is the most in demand technology. I don't want to say don't go to mobile app, but if you're interested in mobile app, you have to acknowledge that there are less mobile app developer in the market than you thought. And also another thing is data engineering. I know that a lot of you are interested in data. So if you're interested in data, here I want to make a clear distinction on data science, data engineering, and data analysis. So data analysis, I would consider it as a business skills. So a lot of the business people now, they are able to do data analysis already. So even if you know some basic SQL, that is no longer an edge because there are so many people without a computer science background also know those basic data analysis skills. So I would consider that every one of you, if you're interested in IT industry, learn about data analysis. And then on the other hand, if you're saying that I want to go to the technical path of data career, then what you should be learning would be data engineering instead of those fancy AI stuff. Because like I know that a lot of you, when you are talking about AI, you find, oh, that's so fascinating, so interesting. But if you go to LinkedIn, okay, you don't have to trust me. You just go to LinkedIn, search for data positions. You will find that almost no one is hiring for AI capability. No one is hiring for AI engineers or AI experts. Everyone is hiring for data scientists or data engineers. So if you want to become technical, I will say go for data engineer first. And then if you have time, learn about those AI. AI knowledge are good to have, but then you have to have data engineer first. Okay. So I know that AI is very popular, is on the trend now, but still, we don't see a lot of demand at the moment, and I don't foresee that in the upcoming like 1 or 2 years. The reason is AI is usually developed by the big tech company. Usually it's developed by like Google, Amazon, etc. Everyone else are not building their own AI. Everyone else are just feeding their data to these Google, Amazon, Microsoft, open AI models. So what a company would need is an engineer who will be able to pipe the data into the model. That's why we need data engineer instead of AI experts. We don't need a lot of AI expert in the market. So only AI companies will need AI expert. So all else companies, they need data engineers to pipe the data into the model. So if you are considering data career, think about data engineer first, or think about data and analyst first. And then also industry know-how is important. No matter if it is a technical role or business role, industry know-how is always important. Yeah, so I think this is kind of what I prepared today. Maybe I will pass it back to Peggy to host the Q&A section and also the panel discussion. Thank you.
Hey, thank you, Darren, for such insightful talk about IT industry in Hong Kong. No, actually not just in Hong Kong, it's in general in Asia. And I actually already see some question in the chat. Maybe we can start answering the question in the chat. How about that, Darren?
Yeah, sure, no problem.
So I see we are, let's start from the first one. So okay, it's the first question from Awani. So she has a question like, should I bring to a data engineering? What should I bring to a data engineering interview? Would I have to bring a physical portfolio containing the code of my project?
That's a good question. Of course, you don't need to bring the physical code. You don't need to print out the code and bring it to the interview. But if you have a quick and short portfolio showcasing what you did, then that would be a plus. But I think in general, if you have a portfolio, you should provide that within your resume. Let's say provide a link on your resume so that people to click on the link and read your portfolio beforehand. But then in an actual interview, in general, they will be asking questions about what you did before. So what you should be preparing is do a revision of your past projects. Remember, because for data engineers, it's really about the architecture. So you should do a revision of all the projects that you did. And then when they're asking you, you should be able to explain about the project, explain about the architecture, explain about all the tools that you have been using for the data engineering project. So that's what you should be preparing. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Darren. And the next question from Hannah. So what's the hiring rate at Hong Kong tech company for people outside of Hong Kong, non-citizen? Do most of tech company at Hong Kong offer the job who is outside of Hong Kong? I'm not sure if she's asking about maybe remote work. Yeah.
Yeah, so it depends on whether you're talking about remote work. So if you are talking about remote work, then what I would say like the acceptance of remote work is still pretty low in Hong Kong. Usually bigger companies, they would be setting up their own remote office, let's say in Shenzhen, in mainland China, some in Singapore, in Malaysia, in Philippines. So they might be setting up their own remote office, but then they don't really hire remote people unless they got an office over there. So if you're asking for remote, but if you are asking for like providing working visa so that you can fly to Hong Kong, work in Hong Kong, there are quite a lot of cases. I have been like seeing a lot of people from other countries flying to Hong Kong working for a particular job. Yeah. So that is pretty common. But then I would have to say usually that's bigger companies. Usually bigger companies will be more open in hiring like foreign people. But then for local companies, a lot of them they will still prefer someone who know Chinese or who know Cantonese. Yeah. So if you want to come to Hong Kong, I would suggest you brush up your skills, and then like try some bigger companies. Yeah.
Okay, I think you just partially answer our next question, but I will just also bring the question. So, Monta say she noticed a big tech firm in Hong Kong requires speak Cantonese. I guess you just answered the question. And so,
Mm.
would a non like a Chinese speaker or non-Cantonese speaker have a shot getting into any sales or business development, marketing, or consultant role?
Yeah, so it depends on which big tech firm you are talking about. I know that some of them prefer Cantonese, some of them actually prefer English. For example, one of the company that I know, I don't want to name them, one of the company that I am familiar with, actually like more than half.
Oh, uh, I think Darren just dropped, right? Let's give him few seconds to come back. Okay, we are waiting for Darren to come back. Let me check what are the questions. Right, looks like we have many nice questions. Okay, okay, I think he is back.
Hey, sorry everyone. My computer they locked me out. I need an IT professional to help me out. Yeah, to continue my question, my answer. Yeah, so some companies they do prefer people who don't know Cantonese. Okay, so it really depends on which one you are talking about. But I think in general, having good English is more important. Yeah, but then if you don't know Cantonese, I would say there is still a shot, not a problem. Yeah, it really depends on which one. But then if you are talking about financial company, is also similar. I think some companies would prefer people who know Cantonese, some would not. So you have to try your luck. I don't know all of the companies, but I do know that some have like almost like half of the people or even more who don't know Chinese. But then some of them have like 90% people who know Cantonese. So it's really up to that company's decision.
Okay, and next question from Shami. So she wants to know like what is the data engineering skills?
Mm. Okay, so yeah, the data engineering skills term is kind of abstract. So so let me talk about what does that mean by data engineering. So usually I would break it down to three areas for data science. So when we are talking about data science, the first type is what I call data analysts. And these people, they don't really do coding. Instead, what they do is like they use SQL, they build dashboard, Google Data Studio, Tableau, that kind of thing, or Power BI. So they don't need a lot of coding skills. I call them data analysts. Another type would be the fancy AI engineers that I always talk about, right? You love building AI models, you need to train the model, work on the data and stuff. So those are AI engineers. And in between, there is a very important role what we call data engineers. So think about the AI engineers. Before they can train their model, they need to prepare the data. So who is the one who help cleaning the data, preparing the data, and also putting the data into the right place? Those are the data engineers. So if what you are working on is building data pipeline, consolidating data from multiple data sources, piping the data from one system to another system, and also like doing some data cleaning, data filtering, then that is data engineer. So basically data engineers that work on data pipelines.
Okay. Thank you, Darren. And I think the next question is also related to data analytics. So Alina wants to know what are the roles available in financial industry for data analysis.
Okay. Yeah, so it still goes back to what I just mentioned, three type of role. One type is what I call data analyst, but in fact, there are not a lot of companies who will be hiring some standalone, like so-called like data analyst. Usually, data analyst is a role that integrated into other roles. For example, let's say if you are a trader, then you will need to know some sort of like data analytical skills. Let's say if you are working in the operations team, then you will also need some data analytical skills. So I would say most of the time they don't really hire a data analyst. They expect everyone to know data analytical skills already. Another type is what I just mentioned, right? AI engineers. So those are the people who help the company in building the AI training model and stuff. So those are rare because the openings, they don't need a lot of these people. They need a few very talented AI engineer to build the model. But then having more people in building the model doesn't mean that the model will be better. So that's why they are hiring like highly performing the AI engineer. And then in the middle, that would be the data engineer guy. So in the financial world, there are a lot of data sources, including like the stock price, the trading price, every day the trading volume. Internally, they also have a lot of additional data sources as well. So they need someone who basically consolidating these data, piping them to a centralized database, centralized storage. So those are the data engineer people who help tidy up all those data for other people's use. So I would still say the biggest opportunity for being a data person in the financial industry would be the data engineer guy.
Okay. So our next question is, okay, so I'm studying a computer science major in Hong Kong, but not sure how to plan the future career path. So should I start to be a coder in a vendor company?
Mm. Yeah, so it depends on whether you love coding. So if you're saying that you love if you're asking about like being a coder, I suppose you like coding, then the next question to ask about is, do you want to work on a lot of project in a short period of time? Let's say maybe in 1 year, you can work on 5, 6, 7 different projects. If you are interested in that, if you are interested to expand your reach and exposure, you want to try out different industry in a short period, let's say 2, 3 years of time, then starting from vendor would be interesting starting point. But if you are saying that, oh, I actually have an industry that I'm particularly interested already. Let's say you like finance, or you like retail, or you like digital marketing, then might be you want to go to that specific company. If you like digital marketing, then go to a digital marketing company. If you like retail, maybe you want to join those conglomerate groups like YUU or Park and Shop. If you're saying, oh, I like finance, maybe you can go to one of the banks or fintech company. So it really depends on whether you have decided the industry that you're interested in yet. Yeah. I think the good thing
Okay.
about vendor companies is really you can learn a lot in a short period of time. So that's the benefit of vendors. But there is a trade-off. The trade-off is salary usually is lower when you are a junior, and also the life is tougher because like they got a timeline to catch. Unlike in-house, usually in-house team they don't really have a deadline to catch because they are the one who are setting up the deadline. But then for vendor companies, you take people's money to build the software, so you do have a deadline to meet.
Okay, thank you, Darren. And I think our next question is also quite interesting. So, Redwin ask, so I'm interested in data analysis and want to pursue a career path as a data or business analyst. Can you tell us what core skill are most demand for this position? But I think maybe it's also a good opportunity to explain a bit that what's the difference between data analytics and business analytics?
Yeah, so let me explain these two roles first. So start with business analyst. Actually, then, but the term business analyst is a bit vague because there are two types of business analysts. One type of business analyst, they are not related to data at all. They are just gathering requirements from the user, building out some technology documents, and then pass those documents and requirements to the engineering team. So they are called business analysts. Another type of business analyst is like those who need to involve looking into the data. They will be looking into the business performance, the whatever data the company is collecting, and try to uncover the business insight from it. So that is another type of business analyst. And this setting additional, you also mentioned data analyst. I think data analyst and business analyst is very hard to differentiate. But if you really want to add a definition, I would say that business analysts, they are more on uncovering business insights. But then for data analysts, they kind of just analyze everything instead of looking into business only. Yeah. But then you also mentioned what you want to know is what is the core skills? What are the core skills required? What I would say is the core skills is not really with tech stuff. It's not really about whether you can write Python or SQL. Because these data analysts or business analysts, usually they would be using some third-party tools, let's say like Power BI or Tableau. So if you have been trying those tools, you will find that you only need basic knowledge in database, and you can already build a very fancy dashboard. What is more important is, I would say, two things. One is about data visualization and understanding. So you should be able to understand data. When you're looking into the data, you should be immediately thinking about, okay, how do I analyze this data? What are some of the possible angle to look into this data? So that's the first one. And other one is communication and storytelling skills. So after looking at the data, how do you convert the data into a story? How do you convert the data into an insight that you can tell your boss? Because usually your manager, your boss, or your client, they have no idea about data. So if you're going to talk about statistical terms, saying that, oh, this one, whatever confidence intervals or whatever number, they cannot understand that. So I would say the most important skills is really to convert the data into a story. And then you tell the story to the client instead of telling the data to the client.
Okay. So our next question from James. So James wants to know your opinion about getting a master degree in computer science. Does it help to getting the software engineering or technical or research position?
Yeah, so your question is very complicated because you mentioned a lot of different positions. But it depends on whether you have a computer science degree. If you already have an undergraduate uh, computer science degree, then there's no need to get a master in computer science or any specialization. But usually, I would say getting a master degree, the main purpose is either your company require a master's degree for getting a promotion. I know that some company, if you need to promote as a manager, you need to have a master's degree. Then that would be one reason. Another reason is what we call in Cantonese we call it 洗底, or in English, like I would say changing your background. Let's say if you are studying information science, or let's say if you're studying accounting, and now you want to switch to software engineer, then might be getting a master in computer science that would help. Yeah. So these two are the scenario that I would suggest you take a master. But apart from that, I don't think there's any urgency for you to take a master degree in computer science. And also, there is one exception as well. Another exception is you have already mentioned, like a research position. So let's say if your career goal is getting into research position, let's say you are going to join Google to work on quantum computers, or maybe you want to join a finance company, and then finance company or a investment bank doing some complex data analysis or data or financial modeling. Then for that type of research position, might be having a master's degree will help. But in general, I don't see there is a need for getting a computer science degree if you already got the bachelor.
Okay. And our next question is about front end, back end, and full stack. So what's the demand for
Yeah.
this type of career? Yeah.
Okay. So speaking of front end, back end, and full stack, I will. I heard different people are saying different things. Some people are saying front end is more popular. Some people are saying back end is more popular. So it's very hard to tell. But what I would suggest you, the best choice for you is to become a backend engineer with some exposure in front end, or having basically focusing on front end and then have some exposure in back end. Let's say you can be 80% on back end, 20% on front end, or vice versa, 80% front end, 20% back end. So I think this would be the best for your career, because I can see that a lot of companies, even if they're hiring backend, they expect that guy to have some like knowledge or experience in front end. Or if they're hiring front end, they actually expect that person to have some knowledge on APIs, backend stuff. So the best is like 80-20. Have one focus and then have 20% knowledge or 20% time spending on the other side. Yeah. And speaking of full stack, I personally don't really believe in full stack, because I think it might be if you have 10 years of experience, then you can become a full stack. Or maybe you are very talented, then yeah, might be in a couple of years you will become a full stack. But if you're just a junior person, I don't really believe that there is junior full stack developers. Yeah.
Okay. So our next question is the IT support still a good starting point in the IT industry, especially if I want to branch out into a cybersecurity
Mm.
later?
Yeah, so for IT support, I think that is still a good starting point. But then you would need to be careful when you are choosing a company to start your career, because a lot of the companies, they will say, oh, we are hiring IT support, but some of the IT support are highly technical. Some of the IT support are really very boring, like setting up the network. I mean, like, oh, my computer cannot be turned on, can you come helping me? And then you ask people to, oh, maybe you can restart your computer, that kind of IT support. So if you are able to get a position in a very technical IT support, let's say setting up firewalls, setting up the servers, setting up the data center, that kind of IT support role, definitely those are good starting point, and also will be able to help you in branching out into cybersecurity. Yeah. But also I want to mention is like, if you are interested in cybersecurity, even if you're getting into IT support, that's not enough. Probably you want to take some certification in parallel. So, cybersecurity is the only area in IT world that will require certificates. So make sure that if you want to branch out, spend some time on getting some of the popular cybersecurity certifications.
Okay. So, and the next question is about, so what kind of project portfolio would be uh, most impressive for the interviewer or hiring manager if I want to break into data science industry?
Mm. Yeah, so talking about this one, it really depends on what kind of positions that you are looking for. Like again, I mentioned like data science, you can break it down into three types of different roles: the AI engineer, data analyst, and also data engineer. Of course, your project should be related to the position that you are applying for. If you are applying for data analyst, then of course your portfolio should include a lot of like those dashboards to showcase that you are able to use those data analytical tools. And if you are applying for AI engineers, then of course you need to have some experience in building AI models. When I'm talking about building AI models, it's not just about just calling those library, building a very simple classification model, your model need to be top notch. You should be using all those advanced algorithms, or maybe even participate some global competitions on Kaggle. So those are the interesting ones. But in general, I think for most of the people, what would be impressive for the hiring manager is to show that you are able to build the whole AI project instead of building the model. If you are interested in data science, probably you have found that in data science, AI modeling is just it is just like maybe 20% of a data science project. For a data science project, 80% is about preparing the data, 20% is about training the model. So how to impress them? I would say show them how you're building a data pipeline, show them how you're processing the data. You can include an architecture diagram on how the data are flowing through different systems and then combining and consolidating into one database. Those are the stuff that the hiring manager will be looking into. Yeah, because the AI model is not really something super interested unless you are like world class. If you're world class, then of course that would be impressive. But apart from that, we all know that AI model is just a try and error thing. Yeah.
Okay, and our next question is from Brian. So he wants to know your opinion on significance of learning math, such as algorithm.
Okay. Uh, I will first say my opinion. Okay, I personally think that learning about algorithms are not necessary uh, in the latest market condition, because honestly, all the algorithms that I learned in school, I've never used them at all. Okay, so that is my personal opinion. But in fact, when you are doing job hunting, sometimes they could be important. I know that a lot of companies, they still love asking algorithm questions. So I would suggest have some exposure, at least learn about the basics of those algorithms so that you can tackle the interviews. And also, if you are interviewing for big tech like Google, Facebook, that kind of companies, they might be asking some algorithm questions as well. But then for day-to-day learning purpose, I don't really see that would be useful unless you're going into the architect level. Let's say if you are having like 5 years, 8 years, or maybe even 10 years of experiences, then might be in your day-to-day, you will need the knowledge of algorithm to build better project, to build better architecture. But as an entry level, I think algorithm is really just for interview purpose.
Okay, so the next question is, so I want to ask if I'm in a career as a data engineer, and so one of the duty is to monitor data pipeline to detect any breaches. Does that mean even on my day off, I have to do the monitoring?
That is very good question. Yeah. So first of all, monitoring the system is not only for data engineer, actually also for software engineers as well. So almost all IT positions will require some sort of like monitoring the system, but you don't need to worry about that. You don't really need to like sit in front of the computer whole day during your day off. Usually, we will be setting up some sort of alerts or notifications. So if the system breaks, then you'll receive an email, you'll receive a WhatsApp message or SMS, and that is the time that you need to log in and check. But that also comes back to the coding quality, to the system quality. If your system is really good, then might be in one whole year, there's only one time that you will be receiving notifications. But if your system is not that good, then you need to bear the consequence, right? You build your own system, you build the pipeline. So if you build a bad pipeline, then might be every weekend you need to log in and check. If you build a really good one, that might be like one whole year you just need to check once or twice. So yeah, but then this is true for all of the IT positions. Same for software engineers as well. It's not only for data engineer.
Okay, so here comes to, I think it's the last the last question. So James wants to know which of area or roles mentioned tonight do you think are relevant to government or public sector? So I'm not sure. Maybe James from Hong Kong or Malaysia. I'm not sure.
Yeah. But I think no matter if it is Malaysia or Hong Kong, it's very similar. When you're talking about government or public sector, think about the ecosystem diagram that I share with you. There are three things, right? They are either technology provider, they are either vendors, or they are the technology users. So government and public sector, for sure, they are the technology users. So if you look in the chart, what are the roles that would be important for these technology users? Those would be project managers. Those would be the marketers. Those would be the people who product owners. So basically, they're the people who think about what type of project they need to run, and also they need to manage the vendor. So that is the type of IT talent will be required for government and public sector. Yeah, maybe they don't need a lot of engineers, but then they would need more of project managers.
Okay. We are a bit over time, but I think we can still do the last question. Just
Yep,
pop up.
sure.
Yeah. And so I have learned back end in JS. Should I continue on web development or should I also learn data engineering?
Yeah, so that's a good question and also a common fallacy. I know that a lot of the people they would feel like if I want to join the industry, the best is like the more I learn, then I will have a better opportunity. I have people telling me that, oh, I know 6 different programming languages. Does that mean I'm going to get a good job? That's not the case. Instead of learning about everything, but then nothing in depth, I would suggest you deep dive into one area that you are interested in. For example, you know backend, deep dive into backend. Okay, if you love like front end development or web development, deep dive into web development or front end development. Instead of like learning everything a bit and then feel like you know a lot of stuff. That's not a good approach. I always tell people to follow the T-shaped approach. What does that mean by T-shape? That means like you know a lot of things, but then there is one specialty that you're really professional in. So maybe you can be professional in backend and then you know everything a bit. Maybe you know some data engineer, you know some web development, you know some mobile app development. But when you are looking for a job, you always go to the backend development because that is your specialty. Yeah. Only if you have building a couple years of experiences in one specialty, then you start to think about what's next. Because when I'm hiring or any companies when they're hiring, they want to hire someone who have the actual experiences instead of just having a book knowledge. Yeah. If you are saying that you learn backend in JavaScript, then I guess you are a beginner. If you're a beginner, I would suggest you build more project in backend, gain more experiences. And once you have more experiences, you will find that you are actually not that professional in backend development. Because even until now, when I'm going to do backend development, I know there are a lot of things that I still need to brush up. So always try to deep dive into one area before you spread yourself too thin.
Okay, thank you, Darren. I think we have answered all the questions, and we are a bit over time, but I think everyone is happy because they get a lot of insightful opinion from you. And thank you everyone for joining today. I will drop the feedback survey link in the chat again. So please fill up the survey. So it will help us to better prepare our future career talk sessions. So anything you want to say to uh, Darren in the feel free to drop in the chat. I think all of you are very happy and very receive a lot of insightful information. Okay, thank you, Elena. And
Thank
so we are a
you.
bit
Thank you,
over time,
everyone.
but like yeah, we are a bit over time, but I think it's okay. So I think it's very important to answer all of your questions and your doubts. Okay, thank you everyone, and have a nice evening, and especially for Malaysian Happy National Day tomorrow. Good night, everyone. Thank you.